equivalent of "Are you fucking serious?" Kakashi sighed. Alright, he had to admit his blonde-haired student had a point. So what are the ground rules then? Kakashi asked, resigning himself to a 30-minute sparring session. Naruto tilted his head to the side, as if holding a conversation with someone that wasn't there. Kakashi pulled out a pair of kunai and settled them comfortably in a backhanded grip in each hand. Full contact, weapons and taijutsu only. Kakashi shrugged before charging his student. Naruto sighed and took a guarding position. Kakashi's first kunai went for his stomach, while the other aimed at his throat. Naruto slashed downwards diagonally, forcing Kakashi to block or lose an arm, but the second kunai went on unimpeded. Naruto used the force of the slash to drive Benihim into the ground before using her as a pivot to kick the kunai out of Kakashi's hand, landing and letting out a viscous backhanded strike. Both teacher and student backed up to prepare for round 3. When the timer went off, causing them both to almost face fault. 10 minutes later found Sakura tied to a tree stump and none too happy about it. "Why am I tied to a tree?" she complained. "Why isn't Naruto baka?" She whined. Kakashi sighed. The test had been a goddamn nightmare. Minus Naruto, and neither of the others were ready to be genin. Kakashi still couldn't believe it though. The dead last, or at least supposed dead last, had put up the best fight. "Because, Sakura," Kakashi said, sounding tired. "He actually put up a fight, unlike you." He ignored Sakura's protests that Naruto should be on the stump as he had no clan and was therefore inconsequential. In comparison to her, who was a clan heir. "Normally, I would fail you all on principle, but the council in all its wisdom has demanded that I pass Askew. Despite the fact he is both weak and unready." Kakashi took a brief moment of satisfaction of the look on Saksu's face at the weak comment. He would help Obito's legacy get stronger, but he was not going to coddle him. A voice in his head asked about Minato's legacy, but he stomped it back down. "So by default I have to pass the rest of you." I smiled at them, though this time it felt like pure evil. "So get ready for hell, because I'm going to drag you up to Genin, Chunin then Jonin level. If it kills me, or you for that matter." Team 7 as one felt a chill race up their spines that had nothing to do with the temperature. Kakashi sighed. His day was not going well. He really should have failed them. They were nowhere near ready for the life of a ninja. Damn council. Seeing Naruto had hurt though. He looked like a mini Minato and fought hard, but he seemed far more cynical and disillusioned than either Minato or Kushina ever were. Not that he could blame the kid though, he did seem to hold a lot of pent-up resentment at the village. Kakashi sighed again as he saw the Hokage tower draw into view. The Jonin meeting had been called an hour ago by the Hokage. He was sure that the Hokage knew he was going to be late and planned accordingly. The old man was adaptable like that. Kakashi sighed again as he hopped over another roof, watching the window of the Hokage's office get closer. He slapped the side of his face. He needed his head in the game. His team was nowhere near ready. Not that he didn't have a plan to bring them up to standard, and then some, if it killed him or them for that matter. Kakashi jumped onto the windowsill of the Hokage office before waving and giving a lazy yo. He did notice that his team's file was still on the Hokage's desk. The old man had probably expected him to be this late, not that his superior hadn't tried to break him of that habit. No, the aged leader had just failed miserably each time he tried. Keyword tried to make the copy nin show up for anything on time. The Hokage just turned around and gave him a deadpan look. Why did every ninja just have to come in via the window and not the door? It was there for a reason, damn it. The Hokage lamented before smiling at Kakashi. "So Kakashi-kun," he asked, sounding a little anxious, "how did our newest Genin team do?" Sarutobi was not a moron. He knew that the council would do anything to keep their precious last Uchiha happy. That included forcing a Jonin to pass him and the team he was on even if they didn't deserve it, but Kakashi was an Anbu, albeit former. The aging Hokage knew he could count on the man to give an unbiased account, even with his issues regarding Naruto. Kakashi looked at his leader for a second before exhaling slowly. He needed to drive this home as brutally as possible. After all, the people he needed for his plan to work were the best in their fields and not easily replaceable. But all the same, he needed them if his new Genin team had a chance in hell of survival. To be brutally honest, Hokage-sama, they are abysmal in terms of skill, and they show little to no ability to interact with each other. Kakashi saw the look on his leader's face. It was hard and cold. He took it and used it as fuel to drive his point home. When I first arrived at Training Ground 7, Naruto was hiding in a tree, while Sasuke and Sakura were against the poles and unaware of his presence. I decided to test their aptitude for teamwork and asked them how they were going to take a 3-person test with 2 people. Sasuke snorted and scoffed as if he would not need any help to pass the test. "Don't get me wrong, Hokage-sama, he is good, but he is far too arrogant, and it's going to get him and a lot of others killed one day." The old Hokage nodded at Kakashi to continue. Next up was Sakura. She insulted Naruto, calling him some no-clan loser. I would venture a guess that her clan had given her a superiority complex. Almost as big as Sasuke's. If I had to guess, I also think they probably don't respect or even like Naruto, and that will make it hard for them to work with each other. Kakashi took a deep breath. That's when Naruto made himself known to the others. Sasuke disregarded him, and as for Sakura, she tried to hit him. This is where things started to get a little strange regarding Naruto. He not only dodged her strike, but hit her with a counter at an almost perfect range and angel. Using a style that I have never even heard of in passing before, I believe he called it Hakuta, lit. White strikes. He said he learned it from someone called Benahim. Kakashi noted the look of recognition that passed over his leader's face. Normally I would have failed them on principle, but as Sakura started the altercation, I chose to let it slide and let them take the test anyway. The old Hokage nodded as he listened, his eyes never leaving Kakashi's face. At the start of the test both Sakura and Sasuke left and hid, while Naruto remained, saying it would be a waste of time and energy to hide. Since I would only find him almost immediately anyway, something I personally agree with, Hokage-sama. Kakashi added, before elaborating at the questioning look on his leader's face. I know the test is about evaluating their ninja abilities and teamwork skills, but I think Naruto made a good point. Why run and hide from an enemy that would easily find you when you could use the energy to mount a more effective defense? The Hokage nodded his acceptance of the logic behind Kakashi's reasoning before gesturing for him to continue. Following our little talk, Naruto drew his katana and attacked me. I would like for you to note that no chakra was used in his attack, Hokage-sama, and that I was almost 7 meters away. The aging leader looked at Kakashi, quizzically wondering why these two facts were important. Hokage-sama, he still managed to cut me with no chakra when I was too far away for his sword to reach. He cut me using nothing but pure skill. Nothing more and nothing less. Hokage-sama, in terms of skill at the moment Naruto is the best in Team 7. The kid will be an absolute monster on the battlefield if we get him the right training. Sarutobi could feel his eyes widening. Naruto, poor, abused, neglected and ridiculed. Naruto had cut one of his best jonin from a distance, utilizing nothing but pure skill. That alone was incredible. He knew some members of Anbu that couldn't pull a distance cut like that off. The Hokage was shaken out of his stupor as Kakashi continued. After which he charged and I used the Kawamiri no Jutsu to get behind him. Hokage-sama, Naruto hit the log so hard with a technique he called Tesso he completely destroyed it. After which he used 2 jutsu I have never even seen before, one of which incinerated 4 trees before I escaped and could test Sasuke and Sakura. Kakashi could see the disbelief on the Hokage's face, not that he blamed him after all, he had been there and he could hardly believe what had happened. Sakura fell for a D-rank Jinjutsu and put up no fight whatsoever, and Sasuke, well, he has enough chakra to use his clan's favorite Katen. Kankakik no Jutsu. He lets his arrogance get in the way. He also seems to have some kind of superiority and inferiority complex. He got extremely agitated by me, saying Naruto was above him in terms of power. I think his superiority complex comes from his clan's teachings as a child, and his inferiority comes from seeing them killed. The Hokage nodded. It was a sound enough theory at any rate. Dear God, this team was going to cause him no end of problems and paperwork before the end, he could feel it. Kate Kakashi, he started in a stern voice. He dropped the usual affectionate suffixes to let the man know he was serious. Based on what you have seen of Team 7 thus far, what are the chances that they could fulfill missions for Konohagakure no Sado? Both the village's standards and your own, and for their deficiencies, how would you go about fixing them and what resources would you need to do so? Kakashi almost sighed in relief. The Hokage had asked him just the question he wanted. Hokage-sama, at the current time Team 7 could handle no higher than a D-rank mission to my standards and the villages. If they were granted a higher level mission at their current level of skill and teamwork, the mission would be failed or they would die. The Hokage nodded to Kakashi. The man was lazy as all hell, but he was concise and his information was accurate when he needed it to be. The Hokage gestured for Kakashi to continue. He wanted to hear how he planned to rectify these problems. Kakashi took a deep breath. I would like Team 7 to be broken apart for a period of 6 months and have its 3 current genin, Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke and Uzumaki Naruto, apprenticed for this time period to myself and 2 ninja of my choosing. The Hokage was stunned. Asking for a team to be broken down and then rebuilt had never happened before. Then there was the apprenticeship that Kakashi wanted his students to have. Essentially he would be losing 3 valuable ninja for 6 months to train genin. The Hokage weighed the pros and cons of either decision. Hey Kakashi, I will be blunt, I have never has a sensei, perspective or otherwise ask me this. My first reaction would be no, as I cannot spare many ninja at this time. With the Chunin exams coming up in 8 months, we are consolidating our borders and power. Kakashi was in a bind and he knew it. He needed these kids to get this or they were going to die. They all had too many physiological issues for him to train them together at the moment. However, I am willing, as you are one of my most trusted jonin, to hear out your reasoning on who you want and why and make a decision based on your argument. Kakashi's jaw almost connected with the floor. Maybe there was a chance in hell this was going to work after all. Hokage-sama, for the training of Haruno Sakura, I would request Mitarashi Anko. Anko is well versed in poisons, stealth, interrogation and assassination. Also as a friend of Yuhi Kurenai she is knowledgeable in Genjutsu. A subject that Sakura should excel in with her naturally good chakra control under Anko's guidance. Sakura could become an excellent poison and assassination mistress with a backup in Genjutsu, also based on her excellent chakra control. She could become the team's medic with an extensive knowledge in poisons, making her team members less susceptible to poison-related attacks. Furthermore, Anko is known to have rather brutal training methods and a strong hatred of fangirls and should be able to break Sakura's fangirl tendency towards Sasuke. Add to this the fact that Anko is an orphan like Naruto, she may be able to beat the fuck out of Sakura, get over her superiority complex towards those without clans. The Hokage thought it over for a second. Kakashi had made a good argument for Anko to be assigned to teaching Sakura, but he was either going to do the whole thing or not at all. So the aging Hokage settled in to listen to Kakashi's reasoning for his next student's teacher. For Uchiha Sasuke, I would like to teach him myself. My reasoning for this is quite straightforward. As I have lost most of my friends and all of my family through war, one can relate to Sasuke on a more personal level. Add to that my knowledge of the Sharingan, I should be able to teach him that his clan's Kekkei Jinkai is not almighty and teach him some humility. As far as skills go, I do know several exercises that should help him activate the Sharingan that I can utilize. In addition to that, Sasuke, like most Uchiha, seems to be an ninjutsu type. As you know, I have copied enough to make me a walking library on the subject. As ninjutsu goes, I would most likely teach him mostly Kaiten as he seems to favor them. In addition to extra work on his taijutsu and stealth skills and familiarize him with typical entry and exit strategies for both heavy assault and assassination. The Hokage nodded again. If Kakashi was making the type of squad he thought he knew who the last teacher would be, but Kakashi would need to make a damn good argument to get her. Finally, as you may have guessed, Hokage-sama, the final teacher I would like Uzumaki Naruto to have is Yuzuki Yugao. On the skills front, she is the finest sword user in the Anbu, the weapon Naruto favors, as well as a more than passable ninjutsu user with a dual element in wind and lightning. Elements Naruto is quite likely to have. Other skills I would like him to learn are improved stealth, trap making, tracking and assassination of all kinds, as well as if time permits survival training. The reason I picked her for physiological reasons is that Yugao was one of Naruto's guards when he was a baby, through to about when he was a 7-year-old, and holds no ill will towards him. It may help him start to overcome his hate of Konoha's treatment. Hopefully when these three meet again they will be able to make a better judgment about the others and will have gotten over some of the issues holding them back. Kakashi finished and waited for his leader to speak. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Sandai Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato sat and matched the information Kakashi had just given him together with what he had said previous. The man was a genius. It was a reckless gamble but pure genius. Having Haruno Sakura as a supporter in battle via healing and Genjutsu as well as poisoning the enemy. In open battle or seducing them and then killing them via poison or a hidden blade in assassination. Uchiha Sasuke with the Sharingan and the Jutsu to back it up would be devastating in group combat, and with the extra training in Taijutsu and assassination, he would be more than capable at one-on-one and assassination or information gathering as well. Finally, Uzumaki Naruto would be the team's heavy hitter in open conflict with his sword and large-scale jutsu to mow down enemy ranks, and using the boy's natural ability at sneaking and staying undetected would make him a fearsome assassin. Sarutobi smiled. Oh yes, he liked this. Kakashi was more or less trying to turn these kids into miniature Anbu. Sarutobi was cackling on the inside while his exterior remained hard. Oh yes, the look on Danzo's face when he found out about this would be priceless. Hey Kakashi, I will approve an apprenticeship of 6 months for Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura and Uzumaki Naruto, under yourself, Mitarashi Anko and Yuzuki Yugao. Anything else you need, Kakashi-kun? The Hokage asked, sounding innocent. Kakashi saw straight through his leader's act. The Hokage was happy that Naruto got a personal Anbu trainer and the council shinobi or otherwise couldn't do anything about it. Actually yes, Hokage-sama, the skills Naruto learned they are brutal and incredibly effective. The person he learned them from, this Benihim, could I meet her? Kakashi's voice held a slight edge of desperation to it. 12 years, and he still couldn't put his thoughts in order about Minato's son. He needed to meet someone who taught him and ask how they moved past the fox. Maybe if they told him he could put his own personal demons about Naruto to rest and see him as his parent son instead of a painful reminder. The Hokage sighed. He knew why Kakashi asked that question and wished he could help the young jonin, but it was not his secret to tell. I am sorry, Kakashi-kun. The aging leader said sadly. But that is an S-ranked village secret right now, and to be honest, Naruto-kun is the only one that should introduce Benihim to anyone. I am sorry, Kakashi-kun, perhaps when he opens up enough to you Naruto will let you meet her. Besides, anything about her is not my secret to tell. Kakashi nodded, looking disappointed, but his mind was working overtime. Another S-rank secret regarding Naruto that made 3, the fact that the Hokage wouldn't say anything about this Benihim meant that she was both incredibly important to Naruto and most likely very powerful. He briefly considered going behind his leader's back and trying to learn the secret from an Anbu member. Then discarded the notion if he did that he doubted the Hokage would ever trust him again, and if Naruto found out, then even if Kakashi got over his issues, Naruto would most likely want nothing to do with him. There was a knock from the office door. "Hokage-sama," came the timid voice of his secretary. "The council is meeting of the subject of Naruto-kun, will you be attending?" Sarutobi didn't remember a council meeting today. As a matter of fact it had been scheduled for tomorrow, so he could talk with the Jonin senseis individually. Still it wouldn't be the first time the council had tried to pull a fast one on him, normally they tried it about once a month, but never broke any laws outright about calling the meeting, they just forgot to inform him of it. "Thank you, Akane-chan, tell them the session will begin in 5 minutes, and we will not need to call Naruto-kun for the meeting, any and all complaints they have I will answer personally." The door opened, the young woman standing inside the doorframe looked venerable. "Hokage-sama," she said softly like she didn't want to say what she was about to at all. "The council started the session 20 minutes ago." The Hokage frowned. That was very close to treason, not including the Hokage and the workings of the village, almost constituted a death penalty. "That's not all, Hokage-sama," she continued, face still down. "They called for Naruto-kun 10 minutes ago, they said it was under your orders, something about a stolen katana and the last Uchiha." Sarutobi went from frustrated to furious almost instantly. This was not close to treason, this was treason. "Kakashi, you're coming with me." He barked the order at one of his most trusted Jonin. Kakashi nodded. He had seen the third in this state before. When he was like this you sat down, shut up and hoped to high heaven that his anger was not directed at you. "Thank you, Akemi-chan," he said, smiling at his secretary and speaking in a far kinder tone before leaving the office in a hurry, Kakashi trailing behind. Kakashi didn't know how bad his blonde-haired student had it in Konoha, only hearsay from Anbu members and the Hokage, but he had a sinking feeling he was about to find out. 20 minutes earlier, Naruto's apartment. Z. Knock, knock. Naruto, wake up. Z. Knock, knock, Naruto. Z. Bang, Uzumaki. Naruto, wake the hell up. Naruto woke to the sound of yelling outside his door before rolling over and looking at his clock. "Kami, damn it, why me?" he muttered. The clock read 5 p.m., a grand total of 5 hours sleep. He had been hoping for a little, for like 12 to 14 hours worth. He grumbled as he pulled on his pants and walked to the door. He could find his shirt, but whoever was outside had woken him up. He just wanted them gone as fast as possible before going back to bed. Maybe I should look into making some silencing seals, he mused before putting the thought aside and opening his front door. The woman outside was a cat mask Anbu with long purple hair reaching down to about mid-back and an ninjato over her right shoulder. He was more than a little surprised he hadn't seen Nico-chan, as he had called her as a kid for almost 5 years. He debated being a smartass or not. On one hand he hadn't seen her for 5 years and she was nice to him, on the other hand she did wake him up. Oh yeah, he was going to be a smartass about this. "Heyo, Nico-chan, it's good to see you again, but I'll admit I am a little hurt. I see you again for the first time in 5 years and no hug. You never write, you never call. I'm hurt, Nico-chan, you're making me feel unwanted." He pouted at her and gave her the puppy dog eyes. Yugao sighed behind her mask. The order had come down from the Hokage, go get Uzumaki Naruto and bring him to the council chambers. She knew this would be a headache. Naruto never did take well to orders even as a kid, and considering the way he was talking to her right now, she had probably just woken him up. That was a surefire way to get on his shit list even when he was a kid. She sighed again, though she did feel a bit guilty. They had gotten along really well when she was first assigned to be his bodyguard. She really should have called or at least a letter, so she let the sarcasm slide. "Naruto, the council wants to see you, something about Uchiha Sasuke and a sword, please make your way to the Hokage Tower." Naruto nodded as affirmative to her and Yugao made the hand sign for the Shunsen before smirking behind her mask. "Bye for now, the Naru-chan." Before disappearing in a cloud of smoke, her pet name for him always pissed him off, something fierce, just a little payback for the sarcasm. Naruto felt a tick mark appear over his left eye at Yugao's parting remark. He just knew that was payback for earlier. Before sighing to himself and walking back inside, looked like he need a shower and need to find his shirt after all, damn it, and he'd been having such a good sleep too. Naruto could honestly say he hated walking down the main street of Konoha. All the hatred and coldness in people's eyes made him uncomfortable as a kid. Now that he knew the reason, though their eyes just made him angry, was it really that hard to see the difference between him and a fox the size of the Hokage monument? Morons. The council was worse. They thought of him as subhuman, lacking rights, and that was what he could say about the kinder ones. People like Danzo just saw a weapon. He sighed as he walked into the tower, ignoring the Chunin guard's glares. Seriously, he was sometimes amazed at the fact he hadn't gone completely insane by now. What with all the loneliness and isolation, he figured the old Hokage, Iruka, Tucci, AM and more recently Benihim had something to do with that. He walked up to the secretary's desk. Seeing the young woman behind it made him smile. Akane was always so nice to him. "Good evening, Akane-chan, I'm here to see the council." The woman's head snapped up before she smiled at him. "Good evening to you too, Naruto-kun, the council will be expecting you. They will be in the normal room, go up 2 floors and the second door on your right, good luck." The small dark-haired woman waved to Naruto as he walked off. He added another person to the list of people stopping from going insane, Shihun Akane. The door in front of him was oak, dark oak. Naruto sighed. Anyone who made the statement that he didn't want to be here should go on the awards list for understatement of the millennium. Naruto almost wished he was back in the academy listening to one of Iruka's boring lectures, almost. He sighed again before knocking on the door. "Uzumaki Naruto, called by the Joint Council of Civilian and Shinobi," he said in a loud carrying voice. He knew they could hear him. Almost immediately the door swung open and Naruto fought down the urge to sigh. Again, he seemed to be doing that a lot lately. It was those damn eyes again. What the hell did he have to do to get away from them? The QB killed their family, not him. Why the hell did they blame him for it? Ignorant bastards. Naruto could feel his teeth grinding as he fought to keep his face neutral. Those eyes, he hated those damn eyes. He looked to the front of the room expecting to see his grandfather figure. The Hokage's seat was empty. Naruto was nervous, even if he didn't let it show. This could mean a few things. 1. The meeting wasn't important enough to rate the old man's time, unlikely but possible. 2. The Hokage had not arrived yet. That chance was almost non-existent. His Jiji was punctual to a fault. Finally 3. The council was going behind the Hokage's back. Not impossible, in fact it was actually quite likely. After all, it wouldn't be the first time. Shimura Danzo smirked as he saw Naruto enter the room. Sarutobi was distracted talking with Heikate. Not that it would last long, but if he could do this fast, he would have the Jinchuriki he always wanted for Root. Then his future, and as such the future of Konoha, would be more than secure. With a properly conditioned Jinchuriki under his command, he could send some teams into Kiri with a decent chance to set up a puppet Mizukage for Konoha. Oh, he even wanted to thank the Uchiha brat for this. The child would have to be killed off eventually. He was too much of a flight risk for Konoha. After he had done some proper breeding to ensure a new, more docile Uchiha clan for Konoha, preferably with a wife of Danzo's choosing. Naruto didn't even bother looking who the members of the council were. They all hated him, or at least most of them did. That's all he needed to know. "Uzumaki Naruto," started Danzo in a neutral voice. "Do you know why you have been called before this council?" Naruto fought down the urge to say because they were a bunch of arrogant assholes. That couldn't seem to tell the prisoner and the jailer, but held his tongue. An outburst now was not going to help him. "No, I do not, Shimura-san. But I am willing to bet that it's on some trumped-up outrageous charge you can't prove. Not that you or any of the bastards really care about there being proof. So much for the will of fire and Konoha always looking out its citizens, you bigoted, biased, hypocritical bastards." He added sarcastically in his head. Oh, he really would like to tell them that, but it was not going to help his case. Not that they would be able to do anything to him, as all punishments for the shinobi forces had to go through the Hokage. Most of the time anyway. He had heard something about some exceptions, but why make this harder than it needs to be? At exactly 16:30 today, Uchiha Sasuke came to this council to make us aware you have stolen a family heirloom of his, a katana. The katana currently on your belt. As a matter of fact, the council has decided that you are to be fined, then return the katana. After which you will be dropped from the shinobi program and banished. Your sentence starts effective immediately. Danzo finished smugly as Sasuke walked out from near the wall at the back of the room, before holding his hand out. "Hand over the katana, dope. Don't worry, it will be in good hands after all. Only an Uchiha can use a weapon like that." Naruto saw red. Benihim was screaming for blood, and she was going to get it. The clan heads' faces went pale when they saw his hand drop to Benihim's hilt. This wasn't supposed to happen. They had done so much to the brat already. Increased rent, food bills, anything they could get away with. He was just supposed to let them vent their anger on him and roll over and die like a good demon. Sasuke didn't understand why the council members' faces went pale when Naruto's hand went to the katana's hilt. The dope was just about to hand the blade over. Why would they pale? He couldn't see Naruto's footing was perfect for an II-style strike. Naruto was planning on killing him in one blow. Sasuke only realized his mistake when the blade was out of the sheath and screaming towards his neck. Only luck saved him when the door opened to admit Sarutobi Hiruzen. "Enough." The old Hokage yelled. His voice got through to Naruto, who stopped the slash before it broke the skin of Sasuke's neck. Kakashi felt faint. He had to stop Naruto from almost killing Sakura earlier, and now he walked in on him about to decapitate Sasuke. Not that he blamed the blonde. Kakashi had heard what Danzo had said before he entered the room, and it sickened him. The council was made to help Konoha citizens and shinobi, not oppress them. The little voice in the back of his head once again spoke up and asked about Minato and Kushina's legacy. This time he didn't stamp it down. The council was broken from its momentary lapse, and all the member minus Danzo started screaming about how the Uzumaki brat had tried to kill the last Uchiha. Naruto sheathed Benihim, who still wanted the Uchiha's blood. Not that Naruto disagreed, he wanted it as well, but he trusted his Jiji enough to let him play this out the way he wanted. Silence. Sarutobi roared, releasing a good deal of killing intent into the room. The civilians and Sasuke had trouble breathing, though Kakashi noted that Naruto did not. He filed it away into the part of his brain reserved for everything that doesn't quite make sense about Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto felt his grandfather figure release his Kai, not that it bothered him. Benihim had been rather insistent that he learn how to deflect Kai. Considering how Sasuke and the civilians looked, he could see why. Naruto could tell that the Hokage, he couldn't call him his Jiji in this state, was beyond angry. If he had to guess, the council went behind his back. Again, heads were going to roll. For what reason was the council convened without my knowledge or express approval? Sarutobi's voice was cold and hard. Many of the members of the Shinobi Council broke out in a cold sweat. It was easy to forget sometimes that beneath that tired old man lay the man called the god of shinobi by both his enemies and allies. A particularly large and well-dressed civilian spoke up. Hokage-sama. He started his voice high. He knew he, along with the entire council, were on thin ice. The council was called because Uchiha-sama. Naruto almost gagged hearing the suffix attached to Sasuke's last name. Most people had to work to get that suffix attached to their name. But no, not Sasuke. His clan gets wiped out and all of a sudden he's Konoha's angel, and him Uzumaki Naruto keeps the QB at bay for 12 going on 13 years, and all he gets is hatred and scorn. He added that to an ever-lengthening list as to why he was beginning to loathe Konoha. He was starting to realize he didn't love the village, just very few people in it. Has informed us that this brat. He made a gesture towards Naruto, not bothering to keep the contempt from his voice. Has stolen an heirloom of his family, the katana strapped to that thing's waist. It is an insult to call you for such a trivial matter, Hokage-sama. So we of the council thought to save you the trouble of dealing with this thief. After all, a thing like this does not deserve your attention. The aging Hokage kept a straight face before opening his mouth. Shikaku-san. He asked his Jonin commander, who was currently trying to sleep on the council desk. What is the punishment for lying to the Hokage and village council? The maximum penalty, if you please. Shikaku smirked. If he knew where the Hokage was going with this, then the council was in for a nasty surprise. The penalty, Hokage-sama, is 6 months probation from the ninja program, followed up by a practical skills check and psychiatric evaluation after the 6 months have passed. If either is found lacking, then said shinobi is to be dropped from the program completely and have his or her chakra completely sealed so that he cannot pose a threat at a later date. The Nara finished smoothly. The Hokage nodded before turning to face Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke, is what the council said true? Are you accusing Uzumaki Naruto of stealing a family heirloom that is the katana currently strapped to his waist? Sasuke almost sighed in relief. His plan was almost down the drain, but it seemed that the council and even the Hokage knew his place beneath the heels of the Uchiha. Yes, Hokage-sama, the dobe stole the katana on his waist from my compound and now flaunts it in front of me like he owns it. Sasuke was positively joy-filled. After this he would be one step closer to killing Itachi. The katana was the next step. The dobe didn't need it and he wanted it. The no-clan loser should feel honored to be the stepping stone of an Uchiha. The Hokage sighed before speaking again. Then Uchiha Sasuke, I have no choice. For the crime of lying to the Hokage and the village council, you are hereby placed on probation in the shinobi program for 6 months. Ending a full physiological and psychiatric examination at the end of said probation period. Should you fail either examination, then you will be forcibly removed from the shinobi program and your chakra permanently sealed. Naruto wished he had a camera. Sasuke's eyes were bugging out of his head while his jaw got acquainted with the ground, and from what he could see, most of the council was not much better. Unfortunately, he had to make do with a mental picture that he would cherish for the rest of his days, though he did still lament that he didn't have a camera. This was prime blackmail material right here. That will be all, Uzumaki-san. Neither I nor the council will need you again tonight. You are free to go. Naruto didn't look a gift horse in the mouth and hightailed it out of the meeting chamber before anyone could stop him. Now then. Sarutobi turned a deadly gaze on the council. Let's talk about who committed treason by commanding and trying to punish one of my ninja without my consent, shall we? The council paled again. It was almost 4 hours later when Kakashi got out of the council meeting, and it was safe to say he had not been more disgusted in anybody in a long time. Naruto only had the Hokage and for some reason Nara Shikaku as allies. Everyone else was out to get his blonde student. There was no other way to put it. Though Kakashi did wonder why the Nara cared about Naruto, then again he was a smart man and anyone halfway competent could see the link between Naruto and his father, so maybe that was it. The actual council meeting was a farce though, after Naruto had left and the Hokage explained that he had gotten the katana for Naruto as a birthday present when he was 7. The council had began insisting that Naruto hand the katana over to Sasuke, not even caring they had been lied to. Kakashi guessed, and rightly, that they just wanted to make Naruto as miserable as humanly possible. Having Sasuke, the so-called last Uchiha, feeling indebted to them was just a handy extra for them. It made him sick when they had gotten on to the subject of Sasuke's probation. The council, or at least most of it, had demanded of the Hokage that it be revoked. When asked why, the only answer that they gave was that the last Uchiha shouldn't be held to the same standards as the demon brat. When Sarutobi agreed, they looked like Christmas had come early. Right up until the aging Hokage had said that as a future clan head, Sasuke needed to be held to higher standards than Naruto. The council had quickly dropped the subject after that and left it lie, after which came an inevitable bout of the civilians trying to pass a law that made all stores in Konoha charge Naruto at triple the standard price. Their reasoning was that any store that was seen doing business with him may become less frequented than others and as such should be compensated appropriately. Following that was Danzo's attempts to draft Naruto into his private security force. Kakashi sighed as he saw his apartment come into view. He had never seen that much corruption in one room at one time in a long time. He stopped walking and made the hand sign for the Shunshin no Jutsu. He quickly disappeared in a cloud of smoke after that. He needed to get drunk and fast, but before he did, he left a letter in each of his team's mailboxes detailing where and when to meet their new senseis for the next 6 months. Naruto's apartment, 5am. Naruto yawned as he pulled himself out of bed. 5am. He'd gone straight back to bed as soon as the Hokage had gotten him out of the council meeting. So he figured about 7 p.m. to 5am, 10 hours of straight uninterrupted sleep. Add that to the 5 hours previous and boom, you got 15 hours sleep. He was in a good mood. Naruto briefly considered going back to bed before discarding the idea. He really didn't need to sleep anymore anyway, might as well get up and start the day after all. He grabbed a towel off his door and headed into his bathroom for a quick shower. It was times like this Naruto wished he knew some kind of solid replication technique so he could have a shower and have his clone make him breakfast. He slipped on his Haori and slipped Beniham into his sash as he walked into the kitchen. Same old morning, same old kitchen, same old table, same old fridge, same old fry pan, same old Nico-chan using said fry pan. Wait, back that up a second. Naruto thought to himself. Same old kitchen, same old table, same old fridge, same old fry pan, same old Nico-chan using said fry pan. Yep, that last one is definitely the odd one out. But the fact was right in front of him, just like when he was 7, a tall woman in everyday clothing was cooking pancakes. Her purple hair done up in a ponytail. She must have heard him because she turned around and there was Yuzuki Yugao standing in the middle of his kitchen, just like when he was 7, just like nothing had ever changed. Morning, Naru-chan, glad to see you're up bright and early. The woman said in a chipper voice. Naruto just stood in a state of mild shock, trying to decide exactly what had happened to him. Had he taken any violent hits to the head lately, because he couldn't remember them if he did. So the blonde summoned up his strength and asked the one question a person asks when someone they care about breaks into your apartment to cook you breakfast, tasty breakfast too, if the smell was anything to go by. What the hell are you doing here? He asked, sounding confused. After all, how many people Anbu or otherwise break into his apartment to make him breakfast? Yugao resisted the urge to laugh at Naruto's confused expression. Sure, she could have waited until 10am to see him, but so what? Yugao actually liked Naruto. She was one of the few Anbu guards that he had that did that, and the chance to screw with him were too great to ignore. Never mind that right now. Do you want pancakes or not? Naruto sat down robotically and started eating. Anyone else would be getting an earful about why they broke into his apartment, but if nothing else he remembered one thing about his one-time Anbu guard. Her temper was legendary. Do not piss her off. So he sat down and tried, keyword tried, to figure out why she broke into his apartment. Surely not to just make him breakfast, not that it wouldn't be flattering, but 7 years and she didn't do it once. Then out of the blue, no, something was up. Why are you here anyway? Yugao. He was genuinely confused, but looking at the smile on her face chilled him to the bone with fear. That kind of smile was something he expected to see on the face of the Shinigami on the day he died. The I got you now and you have no escape, abandon all hope kind of smile. Yugao's smile got even wider and if possible creepier. Glad you asked, Naru-chan. Naruto's eyebrows furrowed at the nickname. He hadn't been called that since he was 7. Damn it, 7. You see, after your genin exam it was decided that you, Sasuke and Sakura, are not ready to be genin yet. Naruto rolled his eyes. He could have told them that. So each of you is being assigned a personal teacher for the next 6 months to bring you up to scratch. I was chosen for you because we share the same type of weapon. Yugao gestured at Beniham before continuing. So we get to spend some time together for the next 6 months. How lucky are you? She exclaimed. Now your training regime for the next 6 months will be as follows. We're going to work your techniques and skills for the first 2 months, then you'll be doing survival training for 2 months. Then finally we will have a review for 1 month, and following that we will do 1 month's worth of missions." Naruto shrugged. How bad could it be, the poor fool. Naruto was convinced that Yugao was trying to kill him. After breakfast she had him strap on chakra weights and run 10 laps. The problem was that it wasn't 50 laps of the training field, it was 10 laps of the village. Not even his legendary stamina was keeping him upright much longer. It was nearing 8 am, and he was just running into training ground 34, his new home away from home for the next 6 months. Yugao just stood in the center of the field smiling like a Cheshire cat. "Have a good run?" she asked, trying, and failing miserably, to sound innocent. "You're a slave driver, Nico-chan." Naruto replied in between trying to get as much air into his lungs as possible. As sweat poured down his face, not even his legendary stamina could survive that kind of punishment. Sure, he'd avoided Anbu for hours before, but that was a careful blend of hiding, misdirection and just plain insanity, not 3 hours of non-stop running with 10 kills on each leg and arm with 20 on his body. For a grand total of 60 kills. He had originally thought he could take more until he started running. Then he begun to understand what hell was, and it was not fun. At the moment the unmerciful god of his universe's name was Izuki Yugao. "Come on then, Naru-chan," Yugao said brightly. "Let me show you what I have planned for the rest of today." Her smile was a mile wide. Naruto gave her a deadpan look. "You're enjoying my suffering way too much." Yugao's smile just got larger. For the next 2 months Naruto's training consisted of strength and conditioning in the morning until about 10 am. Skills such as Kenjutsu, Taijutsu and Ninjutsu. They found he had no aptitude for Genjutsu, but he still studied how to break them. His training in these areas continued until 3 p.m. By this time he felt like he wanted to die. 3 to 4 was a lunch break, after which from 4 to 6 was chakra control, after which he was told to read a chapter of a certain book, usually about strategy or politics, though Yugao did occasionally have him study dancing and etiquette, as well formal address like one would in a daimyo's court, and for some strange reason the guitar, though why was beyond him. Though Yugao did quiz him periodically on the books every time he got a question wrong, she added a lap onto his morning run. Needless to say, the image in Naruto's head about a lovable big sister was quickly being replaced by a heartless and cruel demon. When the 2 months was up, Naruto literally jumped around for joy. No more of those cruel and unusual exercises, no more pop quizzes, no more chakra weights. Things were looking up. Poor bastard, he should know by now that fate loved fucking with him. "Oh, who the hell hit me?" Naruto moaned as he woke up on the forest floor. "Wait a second, forest floor?" Naruto looked around. Yep, definitely a forest. The only question now was why he in a forest. A small scroll was sitting not too far away, seemed to be the answer to his question. He flared his chakra in order to dispel a Genjutsu, but both the scroll and forest remained unchanged. That was one theory down. Naruto leaned down and picked up the scroll. After checking it over for traps, he unfurled it. On it was a quick and concise message that made him curse the world and whatever malevolent being that was controlling his fate right now. The scroll said quite simply, "Hi there Naru-chan, you're probably wondering where you are right now, right? Well, this is where your survival training is going to take place. Welcome Naru-chan to training ground 44, also called the Forest of Death. Normally genin are not allowed in, but Kakashi said to put you in here. I hope you memorize the katen. Akai Hamura Habana no Jutsu and Suiton. Mizukiyum no Jutsu. Since that's your best chance at both lighting a fire and getting clean drinking water. Okay, your job for the next 2 months is simple. Naru-chan, survive. Oh, don't bother trying to escape. If you do, I'll drag you back in there, or another Anbu will, so don't waste your energy. Good luck Naru-chan. See you in 2 months. From your temporary sensei, Izuki Yugao. Hugs." Naruto could feel his eye twitching in anger. Sure, Yugao had dumped him in here, but it was on Kakashi's orders. Naruto swore an oath then and there to get out of this alive before burning his sensei's Icha collection. Followed by every other copy in the village so that Kakashi couldn't get another copy anytime soon. His manic laughter began not long after his oath was sworn, but only ended up causing more trouble when 2 giant spiders bigger than he was jumped down from the canopy trying to kill him. "Fuck my life," Naruto groaned before drawing Benihim and charging them, cursing Kakashi all the while. Yugao felt a chill go down her spine as she sat next to Hyde in their favorite cafe. "What's the problem, Yugao?" he asked, concerned. Anbu didn't get chills down their spines. No reason. Yugao looked at him strangely for a second. It felt like 1,000 Kakashis crying out in agony only to be mercilessly silenced. She shrugged it off and looked back to the menu. Kakashi's problems weren't hers. At training ground 7, Kakashi felt a sudden chill, and then the need to store and hide all his copies of Icha and the villages and the surrounding villages, along with the imminent threat of death hanging over him, but for the life of him he couldn't figure out why. Naruto hid in a hollow in a tree. Those spiders were relentless. Sure, they weren't exactly much of a threat one-on-one, but the problem was they didn't fight one-on-one, they fought 7-on-1 or 12-on-1. A week he'd been in here. A week. Oh, he was going to get Kakashi for this, believe it. Before moving his mind back to his immediate problem, his breakfast, he had been hunting a bear all morning, dangerous yes, but the things were delicious and they really gave a good workout. Naruto heard the bushes next to him rustle and jumped out of his hiding spot just in time before another giant spider tried to kill him. The quick Byakurai solved his immediate problem as it bored through the spider's head and into its brain. If there was one thing, just one thing he had learned in this week, it was the ability to use all Kido and Bakudo up to number 4 without incantation and without losing any power like he had before. It was dead useful. He was still going to kill Kakashi, but he would thank the man first, then burn his Icha, then kill him. After all, for subjecting him to this there was no way in hell Kakashi was dying easy. Kakashi felt the ever-imminent threat of death over him increase. It had been doing that a lot over the last week. He wondered who he had pissed off so badly. Time skipped 3 weeks later. Naruto's clothes were shredded. He'd lost his Haori early in the second week to a bear. His shirt and pants had several rips in them courtesy of spiders. He made a promise to himself that he would come back to training ground 44 once a week just to kill some more of the little bastards off. He'd never been so glad for the fox's healing ability since being dumped inside the forest. He was fairly sure that without it, he probably would have died of spider venom a dozen or so times over. Naruto sighed as he sat down on the floor of his cave. If nothing else, his little bit of survival training had forced him to become excellent at Bakudo number 33. Kaiman. It was part of the reason he could stay in the cave. After all, Kaiman caused any assault against it to be repulsed. It was difficult to break from the outside, but easy from the inside. So far he hadn't found anything in the forest capable of breaking it. That being said, it wasn't like he had spent time looking for things that could break Kaiman. That would be a little detrimental to the idea of casting it in the first place. Naruto sighed and sat down in the center of the cave before setting Benihim on his lap and meditating. Jinzen, unlike what most thought, was not a hard technique to use. You just had to be calm about what was going on around you and give your full focus to your Zanpakuto. The feeling like he had been submerged in cold water hit Naruto as he appeared in the mindscape Konoha. He noticed that the cloud cover was just a little bit lighter than his last visit. He felt hands go around his waist and a head nestle into his neck. Benihim's hot breath next to his ear. He could see just a little bit of vibrant red where her hair obscured his vision. "This me, Naruto-kun?" she asked. He could tell she was smiling. "Of course I did, Haim." He pulled away and smiled back at her. Benihim could easily be one of, if not the most beautiful women he had ever seen. "You know I like visiting you whenever I can. After all, I bet it gets lonely in the mindscape." It was true, Naruto did like visiting the Crimson Princess whenever he got a spare moment, not just to train, but just to spend time with her. He hated being alone. Sure, it beat having people with those eyes looking at him, but the emptiness that came with it, he just couldn't stand that feeling. If coming to the mindscape as often as he could would spare Benihim that feeling, then he would come here as often as he could. It was part of the reason a selfish party admitted that he wanted to finish the materialization training so that he never had to feel that way again. The Crimson Princess smirked. "So what are you here for, Naruto-kun? The forest looks like it's keeping you busy. Are you really sure you should be taking a time out? It looked like you were having so much fun." Benihim almost fell to the floor laughing at the horrified look on Naruto's face when she said he was having fun. Before compassing herself again and giving a small smile. "So tell me, what are you here for, Naruto-kun? It's dangerous to be here considering where you are right now." Naruto regained his composure, slowly. Having fun? Had the woman been watching what had been happening over the last month? "Benihim, I take it you have been watching what's been happening, right?" He got a nod in response and a slight smirk. Naruto could feel his eye twitch at that smirk. He loved Benihim to pieces, but she could be so difficult at times. "I was hoping you could train me more. Between the fox and what I've eaten over the last 4 days, I can probably stay in here for around 48 hours, so around 30 days total. Let's face it, I am surviving at the moment, but just barely. Come on, Haim, I need your help." Benihim sighed at her partner's actions, though he did have a point. He was just surviving at the moment. A lot of the reason for that was skill, but a good 20 to 30% was luck. She didn't mind training him. Hell, she probably enjoyed it more than he did. After all, she was a being born for battle, and when they trained she got to fight and connect with her partner at the same time. A win-win in her book. Still, what could they work on in just 30 days? She still wouldn't teach him any lit step method until his body could handle it. At his current age, he might be able to do 1 or more movements using Shunpo, but no more. That really took away from its combat ability. Unfortunately, she wouldn't be able to teach him any for a while, as if he started too young they could cause permanent damage to his body. That left Hakuta, Kido and Zanjutsu. Hakuta was out for the time being, as it required more physical strength than Naruto had right now to kill most of the things that the forest could throw at him. Benihim could teach him more about how to add his Riryaku to his strikes, but she only had 30 days, and that wasn't exactly easy. Guess it will have to be Zanjutsu. Naruto could preform the Mizuri with relative ease. He had the best chance of pulling off the next attack, the Rimden. She smirked. This was going to be fun. Naruto swallowed when he saw Benihim smirk that never ended well for him. Naruto wondered if he ran right now and willed himself out of the mindscape, would he be able to escape Benihim before she caught him? Time skip 1 month later. Izuki Yugao walked into the Forest of Death whistling a jaunty tune. She had her student back. She hoped he enjoyed the Forest of Death. Oh well, if he hated it, that was not a problem after it was all Kakashi's idea. Yugao took to the tree branches to look for her cute little student faster. Being in Anbu and friends with Anko had its perks, one of them being absolute knowledge of the layout of Training Ground 44, well that and all the free dango. It was too bad Anko wasn't allowed to dump her student in the forest as well, but considering her skills that would have been a death sentence, so Kakashi expressly forbade it. Normally Anko wouldn't be one to listen, but when it's got a sealed and signed order attached from the Hokage no less, you shut the fuck up and pay attention. Naruto could have jumped for joy. He was getting the hell out of here today. He grunted as he put Benihim through a spider's skull before tearing her back out with a spray of blood. According to Benihim, he still had a lot to learn, but he had finally, after spending a total of 5 real-world days inside the mindscape on and off, finally gotten the Rimden down. It wasn't perfect, not by a long shot. He still needed his opponent to be within 10 meters of him before he could use it. Benihim had told him true masters of the art could use Raiden at upwards of 500 meters. He knew he still had a long way to go, but hey, it was keeping him alive right now, so he wasn't going to get all upset about it. Naruto leaned backwards as another spider jumped at him, its leg tearing away some of the skin on his cheek. He didn't even grunt in acknowledgement of the wound. Another thing the Forest of Death had taught him, how to ignore pain and fatigue. His right arm came up diagonally, cutting off the offending leg. The blood spurted onto his face. It felt warm. He smiled. The spider was in perfect range. It was about to die. It was this scene Yugao walked onto and could hardly believe her eyes. The clearing her cute little student was fighting in was covered in two things: corpses and blood. There had to be at least 15 spider carcasses down there. Naruto himself was covered in blood and smiling. Yugao swallowed. Not that she didn't love Anko like a sister, but the last thing the world needed was a miniaturized Jinchuriki version of her. Sakura, she was sure by now, most likely a miniature Anko anyway, but Anko times 3 was enough to scare the ever-living hell out of her. Naruto smiled as he felt the blood run down his cheek and pulled Benihim's sealed form back over his head. He would get 3 in one go. He took a half step forward and swung the blade down, letting his Riryaku flow down the blade and collect on its edge. Raiden. He yelled as Benihim came down. The Riryaku was released from the blade, extending outward and bisectioning the last 3 spiders. He smiled. It was only 10 meters, but still it was something. The Raiden, though one of the more basic Zanjutsu techniques, was, according to Benihim, incredibly difficult to control. The control of the Raiden could be broken up into 3 training levels. The first was simply preforming the technique, regardless of distance or power. The second was the longest stage of training, where he was now. It consisted of controlling the power used in the technique, as well as trying to increase the distance it could cover. This stage was considered complete when the user could split a log at 100 meters. The final level of training was putting control and precision together and being able to split solid steel at 300 meters. After that was completed, the user was considered a master of the Raiden technique. Needless to say, he had a lot to work on, but hey, not bad for a 12-year-old, right? Yugao's jaw was making a close acquaintance with the floor. Uzumaki Naruto, the little lonely blonde kid that she had nicknamed Neri-chan in his early years, had just bisectioned 3 spiders in one slash, using nothing but pure skill. Kakashi was right. Give this kid the right training and he will be a monster on the battlefield, no questions asked. Still, she did wonder if he could teach her that attack the Raiden was it, or at least direct her to who taught him. That kind of attack didn't come without proper training and lots of it, though she should know any sword user in the village that could pull off something like that, and yet she was drawing a blank. Yugao noticed that Naruto was sheathing his sword and she jumped down to meet him. She tucked her legs and landed lightly on the forest floor, making barely a sound. "Ready to go, Neri-chan?" she asked in a bright conversational tone. She wasn't surprised to see him looking at her blankly, as if to say, "Why are you talking? Just hurry up and get me out already." Yugao rubbed the back of her head sheepishly before jumping back onto the tree and making for Konoha. She got the feeling Kakashi would regret sending the kid into the forest. She just hoped that Kakashi was the only victim of Naruto's revenge. Kakashi felt that chill go up his spine again, and the feeling of foreboding that had been getting ever closer grew. He seriously started thinking about going to a psychiatrist. After all, no one wanted him dead badly enough to make this feeling a constant, right? Yugao was silently impressed with Naruto. The second they had gotten back from the forest, his eyes had been darting around looking for the best places to hide, ambush, gather information and assassinate from. Then again, when your options were improve or die, you improved, and quickly. Not that it diminished the amount Naruto had learned. Hell, the kid was even walking in such a way that he could attack or defend from all angles. If these were the results, maybe they should throw more genin into the forest, she considered before discarding the idea, as she was fairly certain that Naruto would have died if he wasn't a Jinchuriki. She wasn't wrong. Though the first thing he had asked her when they had left the forest was to go to a clothing store when she had asked why he had only got new clothing 2 months ago. Naruto just gave her a deadpan look and pointed to his shredded shirt and pants, then replied that the forest had taught him a few things, the first being the value of a mesh shirt. The weapons store she had taken them to was one that normally served Anbu, but she did get on well with the owner. "Morning, Kenichi," she said, waving to the brown-haired man behind the counter. The large man waved back before seeing Naruto and smiling. "He needs some new clothes." It was a statement, not a question, and Naruto nodded in agreement. "Custom order, or do you want to see what we have?" Naruto thought about it before asking Benihim on her opinion. "Haim, what do you think, custom or normal?" The Crimson Princess was silent for a moment, weighing their options. "Do we have enough for a custom job?" asked the melodious voice of the Crimson Princess. Naruto thought about the question for a few moments. On one hand, yes he did, though he would have to neglect buying kunai and shuriken. On the other, however, he would have to rely on Benihim, jutsu and kido, and that could get him killed. "What, no faith in little old me? Naruto-kun, I'm hurt. Who helped you get so strong anyway?" Naruto stifled a chuckle. "Naruto, I am your power, believe in me. I told you, didn't I? If you can trust me, I won't let a single thing happen to you." He sighed for all the times Benihim acted like a child. She was in reality far more mature than him. He sighed. "Could I get a custom job, please?" Kenichi nodded before taking out a notepad and pen. Before gesturing at Naruto to continue. "To start with, I would like steel-toed boots. I don't know why ninjas use those sandals, they are so easy to stab through." Kenichi chuckled in agreement. For the legs, form-fitting modeled gray pants with an extra large kunai and shuriken holder on each leg. "Oh, could you add another compartment for explosive notes?" Yet another thing the forest had taught him: never underestimate the value of a well-placed explosion. Kenichi nodded again. So far what the kid had picked out was pretty standard, but hey, who was he to complain? The more standard it was, the faster he could put it together. Would it be possible to have the pants made of mesh fibers? Kenichi's eyebrows shot up. That was a new one. Most ninjas outside of the Anbu thought that mesh fiber was overrated. Morons. It was made to stop kunai and shuriken, the things most ninja carried in excess. How the hell could something like that be useless? "Sounds like the rest of this little outfit of yours is going to be some heavy outfitting, kid," he offered, looking at Naruto. Most ninja don't start buying things made of mesh fibers until they hit late Chunin, early Jonin in rank and realize how dangerous the world really is. You shooting for Anbu or something? This kid was something else. Mesh fibers and mottled gray. Most new ninja don't realize at first, but black is the worst color to hide in. It silhouettes you against the background and makes you a target. Mottled gray breaks your body shape up and makes you harder to discern in low light settings. But how did the kid know that? Kenichi took a look at Naruto's clothing again, or rather lack of clothing. It looked like he had just come out of hell, and that smell of earth it smelt like. His eyes widened. It smelt like the forest of death. That explained a lot. If the kid got out of that place alive, then he would know just what he needed to survive. Naruto shook his head. "Just looking to stay alive at the moment," he admitted somewhat sheepishly, ignoring the stifled laughter from Yugao. "Back to my order. I would like a mottled gray shirt also made of the mesh fibers and a full upper body set of mesh armor to go underneath it, and could I get a spiral on the back of it, please?" Kenichi nodded again. This kid was starting to interest him more and more. He was just so much of an unknown factor. He was obviously a genin, but survived the forest of death without a team by the looks of it. Asks for what was effectively Anbu member gear, then proceeds to say he didn't want to join, just survive. So many impossibilities stacked one on another. Finally Naruto said, dreading how much the total was going to be. "I would like a full-length trench coat made fully of mesh fibers with metal backing its forearms, this time black. Would it be possible to get a design on the back of it? Along with some storage seals on the inside of it, please?" Kenichi nodded. It was part of the reason people took custom jobs after all, so that they got something unique to them. "Okay then, could I please get 4 storage seals on the inside of the coat, and as for the design on the back, just the kanji for crimson and red, please." His request stumped both Yugao and Kenichi. Sure, they could understand if he asked for an Uzumaki spiral, not that Naruto knew it was an Uzumaki spiral, on the back of his coat. Or even a 9-tailed fox, after all he was its Jinchuriki. Though Yugao would admit that having the 9 tails would be unlike Naruto, after all, who wants to advertise the fact that they have the demon that leveled some of the village? You are living in sealed inside you. If anything, it would make people more hostile to him. Still, it begged the question of why the word crimson was so important to Naruto. Kenichi took a quick look up and down Naruto. "If that's what you want, it should be ready in about a month." His eyes focused on the sword at Naruto's waist. "You any good with that blade, kid?" Naruto shrugged. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't a master either. "I'm passable," he admitted. Sure, he was good, but he wasn't some kind of sword master or anything, not yet at least. Still Benham was pushing him hard with his Zanjutsu, so there was more than a fairly good chance he would end up in their rank someday, not someday soon, but someday. Kenichi nodded. He was starting to like this kid more and more. Most people would be willing to play up their skills to make themselves seem better than they really were. That kind of stuff was dangerous as most of them started to believe their own bullshit and that overconfidence got them killed in the end. But the kid was willing to man up and admit that while he was good at using the blade on his belt, he wasn't overconfident about it. That kind of thing took more balls than most people had. Did if you ever get the chance go to Tetsu no Kuni. Naruto gave him a strange look. Tetsu no Kuni is unique amongst the larger nations in that it doesn't have a ninja village. But no one is stupid enough to try and attack them. Do you know why? Naruto shook his head. The reason is that Tetsu no Kuni is guarded by samurai instead of ninja, not those fakes you see running around for crime bosses and the Yakuza either. Real samurai, the kind that are capable of using chakra to enhance their attacks using both nature and shape manipulation. They are widely regarded as the finest sword users on the continent. You would do well to learn from them if you ever get the chance. Naruto nodded again and thanked Kenichi for his help. The brown-haired man watched as Yugao and Naruto walked out of sight. Kenichi was many things, but he was a shinobi first and foremost, if a retired one, and seeing Naruto brought back a memory from his sensei. Looking back on it now, Naruto seemed to personify what his sensei was talking about. He smiled as he remembered his sensei's speech about what it took to be a true warrior. Given enough time, any man may master the physical. With enough knowledge, any man may become wise. It is the true warrior who can master both. And surpass the result. Kenichi smiled. He had always thought his sensei was a bit crazy. After all, if you mastered both all physical training and mental training, then how could you surpass the result of that? It always seemed beyond reason to him. Then again, looking at that blonde-haired brat, he could almost believe that there was someone standing in front of him that could surpass reason along with everything else. Time skip 1 month later. Naruto leaned back as Yugao's ninjato cut up towards his face, trying to take his left eye. There was a grimace of concentration on his face. Yugao was always serious in her sparring. He couldn't afford to underestimate her. She was not called the best sword user in Anbu for no reason after all. Naruto wasn't under any illusions he wouldn't win this little match, but that wasn't the point. The point of sparing Yugao was to make him aware of his faults. Her blade came down again. Naruto raised his steel-backed forearm to meet the descending sword. There was the sound of screeching metal as the blade was deflected away from his face. The sparks dancing around the point of impact, Naruto twisted Benham and slashed at Yugao's midsection, aiming to eviscerate her if the slash connected. As it happened, Yugao slipped around to strike and cut at his neck. Naruto swore in his head. Before using the force of his swing to plant Benham in the ground and using the force to dodge the blow and launch a devastating heel kick at Yugao's leg, which was promptly blocked by the Anbu. They both backed off, giving themselves room to maneuver. Feel like using that move yet, Naru-chan? Yugao taunted ever since he had told her that he couldn't teach her the Raiden. Yugao had been trying to force him to use it against her, probably to see if she could reverse engineer it so she could use the Raiden or a bastardized version of it anyway. Naruto's grimace increased in size. He didn't have enough control over Raiden to use it in sparring yet. Sure, he could pull the attack off, but he couldn't control the force behind it. If he used it now, one of three things would happen. 1. Yuago would dodge it. 2. She would try to dodge and lose a limb. And 3. She tried to block the Raiden head-on and die. Not exactly the best choices any way you wanted to look at it. Naruto charged again, Benham slashing down from above, aiming for Yugao's neck. The ninjato came up to deflect. Naruto used the force of the connecting attacks to spin and launch an attack at Yugao's now unprotected side. The ninjato came down, blocking the savage blow in a shower of sparks, and so back and forth they went, two sword users in the middle of a dance of death. They separated again, both grinning like madmen women before both raised their blades to charge. Their breathing was torn and ragged. The alarm went off and allowed them both to relax. Naruto gulped down the air like it was water as he sheathed Benham. He never knew that Yugao was such a good swordswoman. Then again, she did say all Anbu needed to be at least passable with their ninjato. He didn't buy that for a second. He was passable with Benham in her sealed state, probably low chunin in terms of skill, and she could easily outfight him. Not that it was surprising, she was an Anbu after all, but there was no way in hell she was just passable, as she put it. Good job, Naru-chan, you're really getting better. We'll take our first mission today, unless you want to teach me that move the Raiden, was it? Yugao said sweetly. Naruto just shook his head. He was not passing out Zanjutsu techniques to anyone, hell, considering they used Riryaku not chakra, and he used a Zanpakuto not a normal katana. He wasn't even sure other people could be taught Zanjutsu. Yugao pouted. It wasn't fair, damn it, she wanted that move. Well then, Naru-chan, guess we'll go to the Hokage for your first D-rank mission. Yugao said before jumping off back towards the village. Naruto just sighed. He had long since given up trying to get her to stop calling him that. Yugao didn't bother knocking, she just pushed open the door to the Hokage's office. The old man looked up from his desk, his face grim. Yugao stiffened. She had always seen that face when he was about to send Anbu out on S-rank missions. Something had gone wrong and badly. Yugao might not be active right now, but she was an Anbu. She needed to know what was going on and fast if it could affect the village in a bad way, and from the look on her aged leader's face the information was both highly sensitive and highly problematic. What is the problem, Hokage-sama? Yugao asked with a formality that she hadn't needed to use since she started training Naruto 5 months ago. The old Hokage stared at her for a second as if debating something inside. Before coming to a decision, the old Hokage stood from his chair and looked at both her and Naruto before nodding approvingly. There was about to be some dirty business done, but they were ninja and Naruto would have to get used to it eventually. Izuki Yugao and Uzumaki Naruto, the aging fire shadow, addressed them, making them both stand up straighter. As of 0900 today we received a message from Team 8, led by Jonin Sensei Yuuhi Kurenai, whose current mission is to the Land of Waves. The Hokage took a deep breath. Their current assignment was to escort a bridge builder named Tazuna, no last name, to his home in the Land of Waves. Then protect him until its eventual completion, as the client gave no more information. As such, the mission was labeled as a C rank. Yugao nodded. She could see where this was going. Naruto kept his mouth shut, which surprised her. Then again, it probably shouldn't have after spending more time around the kid now he was older. She knew he was nowhere near as dumb as he made out. The client lied to us. Gato, head of the Gato Corporation, had hired a team of missing ninja, comprised of the Demon Brothers C rankers in the bingo book and an A rank missing ninja of Kurigakure Mamachi Zabuza, who holds the title of Kurigakure no Kijin for killing off his entire graduating class of genin. Naruto paled a bit at this, but otherwise kept up a reasonably strong facade. In addition to another member of the group that poses as a hunter ninja for Kurigakure, the mission I want the two of you to accept if you feel you can handle it is as backup for Team 8. To be honest, the Hokage continued, I want to help the people of Wave because of the financial deprivation that Gato has been inflicting on them since he took over the country's trading routes. The Hokage would have wanted to keep Naruto's innocence intact a little longer, just a little longer. But the situation in Wave was beyond delicate. He couldn't send a team of Anbu for fear of retaliation from Kiri. Jonin were out as the same thing would happen. Chunin wouldn't be enough to do the job. That left the old Sarutobi with precious little in the way of options. He wanted to help the people of Wave. But Gato was also doing things that the old Hokage couldn't approve of: human slaver, sex slaves, drug dealing, and the list went on. But a genin with apprenticeship to a jonin that he could send without raising undue alarm. Kakashi wanted to make a miniaturized Anbu in his 3-man genin team. Time to put one of them to the test, no matter how much he hated himself in doing so. In addition to aiding Team 8, you have a secondary objective that must be completed. You are to conduct guerrilla warfare on Gato Corporation and make it messy.